moving right along with the next topic on today's show, sticking with the theme of offense from the last segment, now focusing in on the Buffalo Bills. A very different look to their offense this year in 2024. Obviously, they traded Stephon Diggs to the Houston Texans, and now through that trade, they've really had to, you would think, try and change this whole identity that they have on offense because they also lost Gabe Davis in free agency. With their salary cap situation, they couldn't really afford to keep him compared to the contract that he got from the Jacksonville Jaguars. So they were really left with Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox as well as their main targets from last season, and they were able to add although through all of that, Curtis Samuel, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Matt Collins, and Chase Claypool as the main pass catchers to really just fill out this room on the offense. And they also drafted Keon Coleman. They have big hopes for him, but you really have this big hodgepodge of just receivers now that if you look at these guys individually, I don't think you would pick out any of them and be confidently saying, "Oh, this is the wide receiver one. It's this guy. It has to be him." All these guys bring something different to the table, and offensively, talking about just your main pass catching number one option, it might not even be a receiver. For all we know, it could be Dalton Kincaid. He had a great year last year as a rookie, and it's not foreign for a tight end to be the number one option. The Chiefs do it a lot. All these teams with great tight ends are able to do it and incorporate them with their offense and really being the focal point of their offense. So maybe Dalton Kincaid takes that step and really becomes that bona fide wide receiver or just receiving option for Josh Allen. But sticking on the idea of how offensive coordinator now Joe Brady starts to game plan around this and use all these guys to the best of their abilities, well, Joe Brady really put it into focus this offseason to try and get these new players caught up and try and really focus in on what he can do to get the best out of each of them. He mentioned it in a press conference recently at OTAs. He said, "You got to be really intentional about it because at the end of the day, there's only like one guy in the receiving room that's even caught a ball from Josh Allen, that being Khalil Shakir. And so every rep in practice, the individual, there's such an intention behind what we're doing and why we're doing it." He also really stressed really doing his part to figure out what each of these guys does well and what each of them can't really do so well on the offensive side of the ball, and just game plan around that and really make the offense molded into something where everybody's happy and where everybody can eat. That's what Khalil Shakir said also when he was talking to the media, that this new offensive idea with Joe Brady, he keeps saying it in practice, how everybody eats on this offense. Everyone is going to get a piece of the pie, and more of a committee-like approach, I guess you could say, for the Bills, and trying to still be productive on offense, but maybe not have that standout number one option that they used to have with Stephon Diggs. And is that really a bad thing when you have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL? Well, Joe Brady doesn't think so. He mentioned that, in another quote that he said, "At the end of the day, this is Josh Allen's offense. Without all uncertainty, Josh Allen is still there, and he has all the confidence in the world that they give themselves as best of a chance as they've ever had with Josh Allen being there." So obviously that's a lot on Josh Allen's plate, and it makes me think now of a question, is Josh Allen really enough to carry this Bills offense with all the uncertainties around them to really carry them into maybe another division title, maybe just making the playoffs and scraping in with the talent that they have? You can't confidently answer that question now because there's not enough tape out there to see what Chase Claypool is going to look like, what Matt Collins is going to look like on this offense. Marquez Valdez-Scantling has been in a couple of places, has been pretty successful in some of them, being that deep ball threat. But again, how he fits in with Josh Allen is another situation that we're just going to have to see. How do the tight ends get involved? The running back as well, James Cook, has been really impressing Joe Brady in OTAs as well. So maybe they don't try and overly pass the ball a lot and try to run the ball even more so than they did towards the end of last year, which is where my main point sort of stems from, and really emphasizing that running game. And I know all the attention is going to be on Josh Allen. Obviously, this whole conversation around can he carry a team now to the promised land like other big quarterbacks, big name quarterbacks have done, like Patrick Mahomes this past year, Lamar Jackson, without really a standout number one receiver in his offense. Yeah, they have Mark Andrews. Maybe Dalton Kincaid could be something like that. I don't know. But similarly, even to the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson and how he plays, maybe Josh Allen and the Bills can sort of incorporate that now into their offense, which is where I was sort of going with this. Once Joe Brady came in, and it seemed like Buffalo sort of changed their offensive approach similarly, a little bit like the Baltimore Ravens do with Lamar Jackson and their run game. Something needed to change during that rough portion of last season where the Bills found themselves at 5-5, and Stephon Diggs wasn't really performing as he usually does. He didn't have a 100-yard game after week 6 of last year, so that was a problem. That was one of the main reasons for their struggles, and they fired their old offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey after that 5-5 start. And now Joe Brady came in, and I think he really changed the identity of this team a little bit. And in saying that, I think he'll think of doing it, but I think he should continue that idea going in 2024 because of just the situation that they find themselves, the personnel group that they have on the offensive side of the ball. A lot of times they would just run the ball, not just with James Cook and how impressive he looked towards the end of last year, but also they tried to use Josh Allen's legs a lot more and just his massive frame that he has in their running game to really keep defenses off balance. And then once you get them to sort of sink in there and really pack the box, you get into those play action throws, and Dalton Kincaid is wide open. Dawson Knox is wide open. A lot of 12 personnel lineups and formations for the Buffalo Bills that really works for them. One, because I don't think a lot of teams expected it because it was such a drastic change. But now they have still these guys that are willing to go out there and just make this team work, as it appears from all these sources coming out of their OTA practices. It seems like everyone is really buying into this team-first mentality, and with that, I think you get the most willing blockers and the most willing guys to accept their assignment, whether they're not the first read, second read, or really doing anything in the play. They're willing to block and willing to help this team. I think focusing in more on that is the way that Joe Brady and this offense has to go, and that way you don't really make it too much about Josh Allen. Yeah, all the headlines are going to be about him when he has a crazy game, running the ball, throwing it, having the typical Josh Allen games where he's pretty much doing everything for them. I don't think it'll show up in the stat sheet where people are really emphasizing this change of philosophy to not have Josh Allen throw the ball 30 to 40 times because they don't have the personnel to do it. If he throws the ball about 25 times per game, maybe 30 max in a game, or 20 to 25 really, and really just continue to build on that running game, I think it'll make them a lot tougher to stop. But the only downside to that is my other main concern for this team was on the defensive side of the ball. So if you really can't control the offense and really control the pace of the game with that running game, and your defense is just giving up quick score after quick score, and they're not really performing up to their standard like they have these last few seasons, that could put the offense and the team in a little bit of a bind there, because now the opposing team is scoring too quickly, the offense is right back on the field, and now you're trying to get into a shootout, or you're trying to avoid a shootout if you're the Buffalo Bills, and you might just simply not be able to keep up. So how the defense kind of meshes and plays off of the offense under this new identity that I think that they should go to, but it will definitely take a lot to implement it and get everybody to buy in and just execute it right, and try to really mold this team into something that they're not. Because if you just look at the rest of the AFC East and all their direct competition, the New York Jets have a ton of weapons now with Mike Williams, Garrett Wilson, I'm forgetting the name. Malachi Corley is making an impression in OTAs. Breece Hall at running back. So they have a ton of weapons that they can go to. Then you look at the Miami Dolphins. I just got finished talking about Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, A-Chain, Raheem Mostert as well. They have a ton of options in their building as well. The Patriots, no shade to the Patriots, but maybe not the most competitive team in that division. So your two main competitors, and really just competitors in the AFC as a whole, have a ton of options. So trying to keep up with them, I don't think that's really the most smart thing to do if you're Joe Brady and this offense. Can Josh Allen carry this team? Yes, but if it fits into this mold of running the ball more with him, playing off of the play action throws, and really manipulating the defense to play off of how you're scheming it up and how you're basing it off of your run game, doing it that way and having Josh Allen take over a game like that, I think would suit them better than having Josh Allen still try to sling the ball 30 to 40 times per game and trying to get all these receivers at least 4 receptions per game. That's not the way to do it. That won't be a sustainable method for these Buffalo Bills. And I'm interested to see how it all does pan out. It worked pretty efficiently last year, but now teams are obviously going to game plan around it. So how they sort of maneuver around that and counter that, I think they have the pieces to do it. Josh Allen has a lot on his plate now to step up as a main leader and as that main guy, but he has shown and proven to be able to do it in some of the biggest games, and now will really be a big test for him to really cement his name among some of the best quarterbacks in the AFC and just in the NFL in general, because you have Joe Burrow coming back, CJ Stroud is creeping up on everybody, Lamar Jackson coming off of an MVP season, Deshaun Watson coming back off of an injury. There are talented quarterbacks out there, and Josh Allen, if he performs as he should, he'll keep his name up there among the best, but there's going to be fierce competition this year. It's going to make for some great games in the AFC for sure, and I'm looking forward to it. It can't come soon enough, but we'll put a pin in that and we'll move on with the rest of the show. A couple more topics to get to on today's episode. The early impressions that new offensive coordinator Arthur Smith is making in Pittsburgh. What are the players saying about him and what the media is saying about him as well. Plus, we'll be talking about the Indianapolis Colts and how they have maybe a secret weapon up their sleeve in trying to keep up with all the offensive firepower that is going on down there in the AFC South. Stick around to find out more on those stories. We'll be right back after this break.